It's been 34 years since EHEDG published its first version of EHEDG Guideline Document 2 that laid the foundation for the EHEDG certification scheme that in turn created a level playing field for quality hygienic design across the globe for the food and for the food equipment industry. Now, this EHEDG Guideline Document 2 has recently been updated by the EHEDG subcommittee certification. So it's time to speak to the chairman of this subcommittee, who was also around at the first launch of this guideline 34 years ago. His name is Andy Timperley. Andy, thank you for joining us and for calling in on such short notice, because you just returned from a very intense week-long meeting in Germany with all the EHEDG authorized testing laboratories, right? How did it go?
We started off in Dresden for a couple of days, and then we had a 5.5, 6 hour bus journey to Munich, and another 4 days meeting in Munich, which spanned the weekend. The meeting consisted of all representatives of the ATLs around the world. So we had AEOs from Japan, Taiwan, America, Europe. Everyone came together for that whole 6 days.
Wow. So was it fruitful? Was it worth it?
It was incredibly fruitful because of the state of flux that we find ourselves in at the moment, with a lot of work being done within the certification area. Not only have we been elevated from a working group to a subcommittee, we've also got to take the responsibility for not only updating the existing methods, but developing new ones. So we are 12 or 13 people with not widely different knowledge, but with a lot of special knowledge.
For the past 3 decades now, this EHEDG Document 2 has defined the methodology to which the EHEDG authorized testing laboratories, the ATLs as you refer to them, have to comply in order to achieve a harmonized testing across the globe. The title of this new updated document is still the same: a method for assessing the in-place cleanability of food processing equipment. So what is the most important message that you want to convey with this new update?
The basic message that we want to get across from this update of Document 2 is it's not fundamentally changed. It's enhanced. And what we've tried to do, because of the expanding network of ATLs, we have a lot of different climates, we have a lot of different environments, and we've tried to make the method work at all these different locations by increasing some of the tolerances on temperatures, for example, because without having a chilled supply of water, an ATL in a very hot country could not meet the tight requirements for the rinse water temperatures, for example. And what we've done over the last 3 or 4 years is that we've made sure, by doing internal trials between the laboratories, that those parameters do not affect the overall result of the test. And now that we're confident that we've validated that these increases in tolerance give us more flexibility within the ATLs all over the world without affecting the results of the method.
Now, that is quite some impressive progress you've made with your subcom there, Andy. Congratulations to all of your members for that. But the previous change in the EHEDG certification space created quite some stir in the community. And just to make sure that we don't get that again, what does this mean from the perspective of the applicant, of the companies that will submit their equipment for certification and, most importantly, for recertification? Any changes there?
One of the things we discussed at our 6-day meeting last week was lifetime. What would be the lifetime of a recertification using the Doc2 test from version 4 or version 3? And we decided that as long as the pre-evaluation had been done, as long as the test was done, knowing the elastomer types, the compound names, all the things that we find had changed the results or could possibly change the results, we will accept it.
So what is the main point that you want to get across to the industry stakeholders?
The main message that we want to get across to industry is to get them to understand what particular parameters their piece of equipment will need to undergo in order to be tested. So it has to resist a certain pressure. It has to be resistant to a certain temperature and cleaning chemicals. So it has to fit the method.
Now, I know that for quite some years now, you have propagated the need for including certification-related, testing-related information directly into all the different guidelines. What, from the perspective of EHEDG certification and testing, would you like to see them include in their own guideline?
We like to see within the sections of a particular equipment guideline, whether it's pumps, valves, heat exchangers, whatever, the specific design criteria that are recommended. So that gives the AO a checklist.
Could you illustrate that with an example, please?
So when the pump guideline is updated, for example, there may be a clause in there about certification regarding back pressure during cleaning or bypass loops or something like that, to ensure that when we get something for testing, we're not having to explain why we need to do something in a certain way to make the test work.
Mm-hmm.
There have always been limitations to the size of the components that can be tested and certified. Has that changed, or is that just a given also in this new document update?
Because of the range of equipment we are asked to certify, we have a specific set of supplementary certification requirements, which describes what we do with particular pieces of equipment that may or may not fit directly into the standard methodology. So we have the ability to change the back pressure during cleaning. We have the ability to reduce the detergent concentration, increase the cleaning time. The only thing we can't change are the cleaning parameters for the reference pipe. We can't change the 1.5 meters per second. So this gives us a restriction on size. We do not have the capacity to test anything bigger than a 3-inch diameter because it's just massive. Mm-hmm. It requires a lot of water, a lot of volume, and big pipe work. It doesn't really work on the reference pipes when you start getting that large.
Thank you, Andy. A final question: who in particular should read this document? Who would you advise to download it and really go through this new EHEDG guideline document update?
Well, I recommend that anyone who wants to certify a piece of closed equipment should have a copy of document 2, because that gives them the step-by-step stages that will be conducted to evaluate their equipment.
Well, thanks to you and to all of you members of your subcommittee for taking on this great responsibility, the foundation that underpins all these EHEDG certification schemes, and that basically, enables the food industry to stay on track when it comes to effective hygienic design. Thanks for the interview. I think it is an extremely useful document that you produced again.
We do pride ourselves that everything that comes out of EHEDG is incredibly useful.